Focusing back now on our breaking coverage of Sean Diddy Combs' racketeering and sex trafficking trial in New York. Right now, the prosecution's star witness, Cassie Ventura, is back on the stand under cross-examination. And
You're
moments
trying
ago,
to paint a twisted narrative XQC, and it's actually the weird thing. Like what? And then if also, where is the line if there is no gray area?
Well, the line is being a pedophile. If you're a pedophile, you're a pedophile. That's about it. There's not. You are or you're not. You're saying the guy is kind of that is awful. Why would you ever want to do that? Imagine if I extended the gray area to just being around the minor, and I call you in a game of COD. There's a minor. There's a minor person in your game, and I would say, "Yo, that's kind of pedo, brother." Like, whoa, that's pretty pedo. I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of weird. Yeah, that's what happens when you have a big long gray area.
Judge just weighed in on timing, telling the defense that they have until tomorrow's lunch break to continue questioning her, adding that anything after that would be up to his discretion.
Combs' defense has been trying to challenge roughly 9 hours of direct testimony that Ventura has already given. She has told jurors that Combs allegedly abused her, and she said that over their 11-year relationship, she felt threatened at times to perform sexual acts with him. With us now is attorney and legal affairs commentator Ariva Martin. Ariva, what is your reaction to how the defense is approaching this so far?
So, Brianna, we expected this. We know from the opening statement from the defense, a big part of their case is trying to get this jury to believe that Cassie Ventura was a consenting adult in these sexual acts, these freak-offs that we've heard so much about during her direct testimony. So a lot of what the defense has been doing today during this cross-examination is showing text messages and getting Cassie Ventura to acknowledge that, according to these text messages, she was a willing participant in some of these freak-offs. But one of the things that we haven't done or haven't heard yet, Brianna, is the connection between those text.
All they would have to find is a singular instance, right, of where it wouldn't be consenting, and then GG. Am I wrong about this? Just find one place that it's not. Who cares if there's 10 voluntary participation? If there's one that where it's not, that's the most important. That's the most important thing, is that the one where they didn't.
Text messages in the early stages of the relationship and the violence that we heard so much about during the direct testimony yesterday. And I think when the prosecution gets to redirect, we're going to see them try to link the violence that happened later in the relationship to her participation and make the argument still that she was being coerced into these commercial sex acts with escorts, despite how she may have felt about Sean Diddy Combs in the beginning of their relationship.
And Ariva, what do you make of the judge here weighing in on the timing? Because the defense...
Okay, so yeah, of course, if there's 10, even if there's 100 ones where it's consenting or whatever, it'll be harder to prove that one isn't. But I have to be honest with you, I mean, people are in relationships that they probably have sex like 1,000 times. You can still be wrong one time and you're still wrong and you're gonna get clapped, and you should get clapped. It is what it is. I mean, it's not outrageous to think that. All they would have to do is find one where it's pretty clear that it is, and then GG. I don't know, it shouldn't be that hard.
As our recent reporting indicated, had wanted to go at least through the end of tomorrow evening. I wonder if you think the judge is going to press for them to speed things up here, and that might affect their strategy.
Absolutely, Boris. The judge has said from the beginning of this trial that it was going to be an efficient trial, and he was going to do his best to keep it around 6 to 8 weeks. He has said he'll give the defense until tomorrow afternoon with their cross-examination, and any time after that will be at his discretion. Oftentimes, these examinations, Boris, start to become repetitive, and the judge is going to assess whether tomorrow afternoon, if he believes the questioning is indeed repetitive, if he believes enough information, or if the defense has been given ample time to make their case. So it's always that balance between giving each party, each side, an opportunity to make their case, but at the same time, keeping the trial moving so that jurors, that's the big issue here, is keeping these jurors engaged.
For what reason would the judge grant going beyond lunchtime tomorrow?
I think Brianna, if he believes that the defense has new material, if there are questions that have not been asked before today or tomorrow morning, if the judge believes that the defense makes a credible argument as to why they need more time. Judges are often persuaded.
I was never canceled. So responding to one chat, I was never canceled. So I don't believe canceling to be actually real. I mean, people will try to cancel each other, but I think that's brain dead. I think that the whole topic of cancellation is usually a point of defense that people use when they're losing things that they should be losing. And it's like, guys, I'm getting canceled because it's an easy buzzword. People use buzzwords for good sometimes or whatever, but that's when people use for bad. It's like, oh, guys, this guy will say, oh, I said the N-word 10 times, and now the world is canceling me. And you look at the cancellation, and it's just some guy being like, yo, dude, you're a fucking loser. I mean, and it's just, and like, I don't associate with you anymore. And then they cut their ties with him because they don't want to do business with him anymore. He's like, oh, I got canceled. Like, okay, I mean, no, you're just done.
By arguments from the lawyers that there's a particular area of questioning that they want to go into that they haven't gone into before, and that is essential to them making their case.
And when it comes to some of these text messages exchanged between the two of them, Mariva, I wonder what you make of them highlighting moments where there was some emotion exchange between the two of them. Cassie talking about how much she loved Combs, that she wanted more time with him, more intimacy together, and Combs apparently at times reciprocating that.
Well, we know from Cassie's testimony yesterday that she said she was in love with him.
Yeah, that's
that
fine.
She had really strong feelings for him, and a big part of what the defense again is trying to make the case for is that these text messages.
It's kind of deplorable that it's kind of sad that they have to play the game and do the meta lawyer thing, right? Where they convince the jury or whatever of like obvious things like, yo, yeah, you can still be in love and be consenting, and then this still happens. And they have to do this shit where they show, yo, jury, you're a dumbass. I'm gonna show I'm gonna show you like you're a dumbass. It's
evidence of a couple
we're just gonna move past
that chose to bring third parties into their sexual relationship, and that at all times Cassie was a willing participant. But again, trials are marathons. So good day for the prosecution yesterday. Some may say a good day for the defense so far today, because they are establishing that at least in the early stages of the relationship, there appears to have been some form of consent. But we still haven't gotten to that point where we know that Cassie was saying to Sean Diddy Combs, I no longer want to participate in these freak-offs, that I'm threatened.
Wait, what? Wait. They did main questioning, they did cross, and they haven't brought up a non-consenting part of it?
There appears to have been some form of consent, but we still haven't gotten to that point where we know that Cassie was saying to Sean Diddy Combs, I no longer want to participate in these freak-offs, that I'm threatened, I'm concerned about blackmail, I'm concerned about physical violence if I refuse to participate in them. And these issues of consent, Boris, are very complicated sometimes. Obviously, someone can consent to something at one point in time, and they can withdraw that consent at a later point in time. So I think we're going to see that concept played out during redirect by the prosecution.
I want to get to some of the latest details that we've gotten from the courtroom,
like,
specifically some of the text messages.
That's why it's usually from fucking, like, I'm going to say it this time, from fucking, so I've seen, like, deviant, weird, like, hey, I'm going to say sometimes, that's whatever. Most people on Twitter, just Twitter people, right? And they'll be like, yo, dude, but they said they give consent, they did whatever. Yo, you can say, yes, kiss, yes, that, yes, that. And somebody says, okay, now I want to put an Oreo on your bum. You say, okay, no. Whoa, what do you mean by that? You were consenting like earlier 20 times. Okay, it doesn't fucking matter. I don't want to have an Oreo on my bum. I say no to bum Oreo. I say no. But dude, you said yes to everything else though. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. And people can't comprehend that. I don't understand how they don't
that have been
understand that.
exchanged between Cassie Ventura and Combs, and specifically the defense asking Cassie Ventura about a conversation in March 2017 when Ventura told Combs to essentially stop playing the victim, saying that she loves freak-offs when we both want them. And then she was asked about that text message. She said, I would say that loving freak-offs were just words at that point. Dave, I wonder what you make of the defense going through these text messages, trying to paint a picture of cohesiveness and even agreement over these sexual encounters.
Oh, God, man.
The prosecution is saying were coerced.
Chat, guys, I'm starting to almost fear that, dude, this is how they're starting the whole trial.
I definitely think the defense has won some points because although the prosecution tried to take the sting out of some of this by showing she may have texted Diddy that she liked freak-offs, but at some point this was force, fraud, or coercion, that it was against her will, and she was just trying to please a man she loved, an unrequited love. But still, jurors are human beings, and when they see this, they're going to cast some doubts, have some doubts in their minds over whether this was consensual. Now, the prosecution gets a chance to rehabilitate the witness later, and that's when Cassie can say, you know, I said what I said, but you can see by my actions, by his actions, that this wasn't consensual. I mean, he beat me up. He forced me to do things against my will, even if I was into it at the beginning. Just
oh my God,
him.
This bird is so cute. Don't go, don't go, please, don't go. Oh my God, this bird. Don't go, you fucking bitch! I swear to God, don't go. Okay, chat. This screen is a little bit dirty. I need to take one from the side so you guys can see the bird. He went away. Fuck, man. Oh, man.
It doesn't mean that I consented the whole way through. But, you know, jurors are going to come at this from their own life experiences with freak-offs or something foreign, unique, weird. And if they think that Cassie at some point was part of it willingly, yeah, that's going to be really bad for the prosecution.
Richard, when she says that I love our freak-offs when we both want it, I mean, when we both want it, inherent in that is that sometimes she didn't. And I wonder what the jury might...
Chat, all we have to say is a dirty picture. Dude, look, it's like a red little bird with a hat. Chat, it's a red bird with a little haircut. Look, chat, look, man. It's all we get because it's a dirty window and the other one's clean. Oh, man, I'm actually mad.
Think about that.
Well, I think what the defense is really trying to do right now is to establish Cassie as her own agency. In other words, all of this really leads up to them establishing she is independent. She's making her own decisions. She's communicating with Sean about the relationship. She's talking in a very independent way. So they're trying to not just establish that sometimes she actually participated willingly in this, i.e. consensually, but also that she's her own person. In other words, she could have walked away at various points and not have participated. Jurors are going to be fundamentally confronted with these two different versions, these two different character portrayals of who Cassie Ventura is, and ultimately decide what it is. The complication of the relationship is a key point for the defense.
Imran, notably, there was one message, and I believe we have the graphic to show it, in which Cassie Ventura is describing to Combs going back and forth in her mind with wanting and not wanting to do it, these staged sexual encounters. She said the last time was a mistake and since has made me feel a little dirty and grimy as opposed to sexual and spontaneous. It seems like jurors could see this as her perhaps initially wanting to do something with him and eventually finding out that it was not what she signed up for, right?
Yes and no. I mean, if I was in a jury, I'd probably think like, if that's how they feel about it, and then they keep doing it. I mean, dude.
As her perhaps initially wanting to do something with him, and eventually finding out that it was not what she signed up for, right?
Right, absolutely. So you're going to have to juxtapose the testimony from the prosecution on direct with what we are seeing now on cross. And if there's any question in terms of raising that reasonable doubt, whether there were some consensual times or this was just regret rather than being coerced into something that she did not want to do at the time, that's going to be something that the defense is going to want to hit home to that jury. So you see the building blocks with this cross-examination in trying to raise that reasonable doubt, taking the narrative that the prosecution was able to get out from her on direct and raising those questions in the jury's mind, ultimately saying that she was a willing participant.
I gotta keep it bug though. If this is a lawyer on a case and I'm on the jury and I see this shit on the thing, I'm throwing it. I'm throwing whatever the jury is doing. I'm doing the opposite.
And if anything, there may have been some regret after the fact, but it wasn't that she was coerced or forced into any of these acts. And I think that's what the defense is trying to do here, take it apart, the direct examination piece by piece, and we'll see that going forward.
Ariva, we knew that there was a settlement, right? When Cassie Ventura filed her lawsuit very quickly, Combs settled. We only learned the amount of the settlement when Ventura revealed she'd received $20 million, which is a lot of money. That's going to folks on this jury. Maybe it's not as much money to someone like Sean Combs. It is a lot of money objectively to people on this jury. How is the defense going to use that?
Well, a part of what the defense is saying is that she stuck around for the money and that she enjoyed the perks and benefits of being his girlfriend and being in a relationship with him, and that she has profited from this story that she's telling to the jury. But I think jurors are smart enough to appreciate the difference in a civil lawsuit. And some people will feel like the violence that she was subjected to, the $20 million, was not nearly enough. There are people who are shocked at how...
Yeah, but this isn't about violence, is it, yet? Was it?
Little $20 million is when you think about the amount of wealth that she has and the violence that she endured in this relationship. And this whole notion, Brianna, of consent, I think, separate that from the violence.
No, it's not.
If this were a case where you had the text messages and the love, comments that she's making in these text messages, and you didn't have the threats of blackmail, and you didn't have the actual physical violence that the jury now knows about, then I think perhaps this notion of consent makes more sense. But when you pair the violence with the comments, I don't think it's going to be lost on this jury that, yes, at some point, the early stages of this relationship, maybe the honeymoon stages, she may have been willing to participate in these freak offs to satisfy him because she loved him. But
this is a good point, but I feel like the stages, I feel like work maybe I'm missing the point. I thought it was a 10-year relationship. 10 years? Honeymoon phase is usually for less than a year.
Later on, as the relationship goes on, it's very clear that something changes, and the level of violence and the level of threats clearly indicate force, clearly indicate coercion. So the jurors are going to have to grapple with, what do you do with this violence that they've heard about and seen with their very eyes in these videos?
I know how this works. They settle, but then they talk about the stuff of the settlement. I thought there was like man, this is complicated. I gotta keep it a buck. I usually can keep up, but this is kind of a weird territory. It's like super fucking, like 10 plies.